Imagine this. Oxygen, the very gas that keeps you alive, disappears for just 5 seconds. Sounds impossible, right? But what would actually happen? Would you even notice? Or would the world around you collapse in an instant? Before we dive in, let me ask you, have you ever thought about how much we rely on oxygen every single second? Hit pause in your mind and picture a world where there's literally none, even for the blink of an eye. Ready? Let's find out. First, the obvious. Fire needs oxygen to burn. So all fires, from your candle to a forest fire, would instantly go out. Think of it. Every flame in the world would vanish in a heartbeat. Next, water. When oxygen disappears, water molecules themselves don't vanish, but oxygen dissolved in water does. Fish? They'd struggle. But only for those 5 seconds. They'd survive. Barely. Even our bodies start to notice. You breathe in, but there's no oxygen to pull into your blood. You might not even feel it yet, but tiny changes start rippling through the world. Air isn't just oxygen, it's a mix of gases. But oxygen is reactive. Without it, chemical reactions pause. Metals stop rusting. For a moment, sparks in electronics, they'd act strangely. And any balloon or tire relying on oxygen pressure, they'd briefly deflate. Imagine this. Oxygen, weird, the very gas that keeps you alive, disappears. We might not even notice 5 seconds of oxygen loss. Impossible, right? But if it would actually happen, it would be deadly. Even notice? Heartbeats would race. Or would the world around you collapse? Organs would start screaming for oxygen. Before we dive in, let me ask you. Birds and other high-energy creatures, about how much we rely on oxygen? Here's a fun thought. Every single second, your body has reserves. Hit pause in your mind and picture a world where there's literally none. So you can survive the blink of an eye. Ready? That's why this 5-second gap is terrifying. First, the obvious, survivable. Fire needs oxygen to burn. Now imagine, what if it disappeared every 5 seconds? To a forest chaos fire would mount, would instantly fires go out, balloons pop, electronics every flame in the world would vanish in a heartbeat. Would be a flickering nightmare. Water. When oxygen disappears, what do you think? Water molecules themselves don't vanish. Oxygen vanished, even for a moment. Oxygen dissolved in water does. Oxygen isn't going anywhere. They'd struggle. At least not yet. But thinking about this helps us realize just how fragile and interconnected life is. Barely. Even our bodies start to notice. Every flame that burns, but there's no oxygen to depends on this invisible gas we take for granted. You might not even feel it. So next time you inhale, but tiny changes start rippling through the world. Oxygen isn't just oxygen, keeping the world alive. And now, oxygen, the real question, is reactive. What if we suddenly had less oxygen? Chemical reactions pause. That's a story for another video. Metals stop rusting. For a moment, curious. Sparks in electronics, they'd act strangely. And any balloon or tire relying on oxygen pressure, deflate. They'd briefly deflate. Weird, right? Humans, we might not even notice 5 seconds of oxygen loss. But if it went on longer, it would be deadly. Heartbeats would race. Organs would start screaming for oxygen. Birds and other high-energy creatures, they'd feel it first. Here's a fun thought. Your body has reserves, tiny oxygen stores in your blood and muscles, so you can survive brief lapses. That's why this 5-second gap is terrifying, but survivable. Now imagine, what if it disappeared every 5 seconds? Chaos would mount. Fires go out, balloons pop, electronics glitch. The world would be a flickering nightmare. Comment below. What do you think would be the first thing to break if oxygen vanished even for a moment? Luckily, oxygen isn't going anywhere, at least not yet. But thinking about this helps us realize just how fragile and interconnected life is. Every breath you take, every flame that burns, depends on this invisible gas we take for granted. So next time you inhale, remember, oxygen is the silent hero keeping the world alive. And now, the real question, what if we suddenly had less oxygen for longer? That's a story for another video. Stay curious.